FBI agent Elvis Chan busted lying under oath. We have Representative Jim Jordan connecting the dots for us in Facebook Files, Part 4. And I've also got queued up the specific part of Elvis Chan's deposition where he sat for 6 hours and where he lied in his testimony. Jim Jordan is going to walk us through exactly how this is connected, how this implicates the FBI covering up the Hunter Biden laptop. He says they lied about a meeting with big tech. We know that the FBI was creating this fake hack and leak narrative to say, hey, Facebook and big tech and YouTube, if this laptop story comes out, it's probably Russian disinfo and you guys should censor it. And when the FBI was asked about that little attempt, they lied about it. Here we see Jim Jordan says internal Facebook docs reveal that an FBI special agent known as Elvis Chan, somebody we've talked about a lot here, made false statements in testimony about the FBI's role in the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story. Very, very curious. Why would an FBI agent lie? FBI agent Elvis Chan is the main conduit between the FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force and big tech, also known as FITF, F-I-T-F. Agent Chan was in the meeting between the FBI and Facebook on October 14, 2020. In the meeting, the day that the New York Post published its story on the Hunter Biden laptop. That was the big story that was censored all over the place. They freaked out about it. You couldn't share the story, retweet it, send it in DMs, and all sorts of stuff. Elvis Chan was hanging with Facebook. Laura Demlow is the current section chief of FITF. She is Elvis Chan's boss, presumably. On October 14th, when Facebook asked the FBI and FITF if the laptop was real, Laura, the chief, said no comments, even though the FBI had possession of the laptop and knew the laptop was real. In July, when the House Judiciary and the Weaponization Committee interviewed Laura Demlow over from the FBI and FITF, her testimony was shocking. Jordan says, revealing that the FBI deliberately withheld critical information from social media companies about Hunter's laptop the day that the New York Post story broke. In her interview, we learned for the first time that the FBI met with Twitter on October 14th before meeting with Facebook the same day. They published the story on October 14th. The media goes into freakout mode. They get on with all the big tech companies. They say, this is it. Get on with Facebook. Get on with Twitter. FBI met with Twitter the same day they met with Facebook. When Twitter asked if the laptop was real, an FBI agent on the call said yes. Is it real? Yes. But a second FBI agent, another lawyer, jumped in on this, cut him off and said, no further comment. Hey, shut up over there. Pipe down. No, we have no further comment on that. Now here's the transcript. Question. Do you recall whether any of these social media companies you were meeting with asked you any questions about it? I do. And what is your recollection? Who? So I remember having a conversation with or being involved in a conversation with Twitter, and I honestly can't recall if this was repeated to me. It might have been a few minutes late to the meeting or if I actually overheard it. But it was relayed to me later that somebody from Twitter, I don't recall who, I'm not sure who, somebody from Twitter essentially asked whether the laptop was real. And one of the FBI folks who was on the call did confirm that yes, it was, before another participant on the call jumped in and said no further comment. So somebody confirms it's true and real, and then somebody jumps in to clarify. Jordan continues, he says, but it gets better. Demlow, the FITF chief, revealed that the FBI then had emergency internal deliberations. They really hit the panic button to decide how to answer that same question going forward. Uh-oh, they're going to ask us again. What are we supposed to say? Someone at the FBI refuses to say who, ordered that the FBI would say no comment going forward. Majority counsel says, okay, so who made the decision that the FBI would have no comment to the social media companies going forward? Hansen says, so I want to be clear. Ms. Demlow obviously can answer the question as long as it doesn't get into internal deliberations or advice from a lawyer or anything. And Demlow says, yeah, and unfortunately, I can't answer that with any further detail on that advice. Who made the decision? Well, that's internal deliberation talk. We can't tell you about that for national security and Facebook integrity and blah, blah, blah. So I can't answer that. Who was it? Majority counsel says, so you can't tell us who made that decision? She says, I can say that there were internal deliberations with a number of parties but I can't get into it any further. Later that same day, on October 14th, Facebook met with the FBI, including with Chan and Demlow. Facebook asked the same question. Is the laptop real? Now having its story straight, the FBI figured figured it out. They said no comment. So you said he was one example. Do you recall other social media companies? He said, I believe Facebook. Yeah, we met with Facebook soon thereafter. Can't remember if it was the same day or within a couple days. And they also asked, and I said no comment. That was the decision we made in those post-meeting deliberations, which is pretty typical. It was an ongoing investigation, and we don't generally comment on ongoing investigative matters when asked, even though they had been pre-butting this story so that when it landed, they had an excuse to come in and say, oh, no, just hold on a minute. Let us investigate this. We'll get back to you in case it turns out it is true. Did Demlow know that the FBI had the laptop and that it was real? Yes. Did other members of the FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force know? Yes. The FBI knew the laptop was real, and yet they still decided it would say no comment because it was an ongoing investigation at this point. Now, we know what happened next. Twitter and Facebook censored the story, just banned it. It's misinformation. It's really harmful to our candidate. The Biden campaign also secretly set in motion the events that led to 51 former intel officials lying and creating this story, colluding with Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, literally with the Biden campaign. They wrote the letter so that Joe Biden had a talking point during the campaign, during the presidential debate, and they tried to discredit the story as Russian disinformation. So just weeks before the 2020 election, most Americans either did not hear about the story or were told it was Russian disinformation, which again is like blaming a foreign adversary for meddling in our elections with allegedly hacked fake propaganda to discredit a political party. It's like almost an act of war. They're blaming Russia for trying to deviate a whole election when it's all true. I mean, talk about irresponsible from the Biden camp. And they were misleading us and potentially jeopardizing national security. So then we fast forward now, okay? All of that happened. They rigged everything. Fast forward to November 2022. Elvis Chan is being deposed as one of the key figures in the government censorship regime. Now, he's under oath, obligated to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And we can watch the whole deposition. And Chan testified about this question. He first testified, we're going to listen to this one specific excerpt. Chan first testified about the October 14th FIDF meeting where Demlow said no comment when asked if it was real. They said, hey, Elvis, about the FIDF social media companies, can you tell us about that? He said, from my recollection, one meeting with Facebook after the regular agenda had been completed, one of the Facebook analysts asked if the FBI had any information that they could share about the Hunter Biden investigation. To that, I recall Ms. Demlow saying that the FBI had no comment. Chan was then asked if the FBI had any meetings with companies other than the Facebook meeting about the Hunter Biden story. Chan responds, he says, I'm confident that he was not a part of any meetings with big tech about Hunter Biden. Excerpt says, you're confident that Hunter did not come up at any other meetings with federal government officials and social media platforms? Chan says, I was confident that I was not a party to any meeting with social media companies where Hunter Biden was discussed outside of the one incident I told you about. That was the one where it was a FIDF Facebook meeting where an analyst asked Ms. Demlow and she refused to comment, right? That's correct. That's correct. Chan was asked again if, other than the October 14th meeting, the Facebook FIDF meeting, Elvis, how about Facebook? Other than that meeting you referred to where an analyst asked the FBI to comment on the Hunter investigation, are you aware of any communications between anyone at Facebook and anyone at the FBI related to Hunter? Okay, so if you didn't talk about it, are you aware of anyone else at Facebook and anyone else at the FBI talking about it? Elvis Chan's answer is no. Now let's listen to that specifically. This is what it sounded like. And we have a difficult voice from the person leading the deposition.
I don't know the specifics. I oversaw the squad that executed the seizure warrant.
Do you recall, did Ms. Demlow ever discuss what actions might be taken if there was a hack and leak operation before the 2020 election to take down the materials?
No.
Do you recall discussing that with the FBI or anyone at the FBI? In other words, what will we do if there is a hack and leak operation? How will we get the materials down?
Objection. Calls for deliberate process privilege, internal discussions with the FBI.
Yeah, so yeah, we did have internal discussions, but as I mentioned, the only one of the solutions was potentially to see if we had enough probable cause to execute a seizure warrant. Another solution was to, ask the company to consensually take down the information, even if it did not violate their terms of service. So those were the two hypothetical solutions that I remember.
Right. With that second hypothetical solution about asking them to take it down, even if it didn't violate their terms of service, did you pursue that with respect to the Hunter Biden laptop story?
No.
No.
Did you contact any social media platforms and say, hey, can you take this stuff down because it looks hacked?
No.
No.
When the social media platforms answered, did Facebook and Twitter indicate that they would remove hacked materials under their terms of service when you asked them?
Yeah, from my recollection, I think both of those companies said that they would remove hacked materials if they were able to validate that it was hacked. And I don't remember the qualifiers that they used to determine whether they were hacked materials or not.
Confirmation by
when
the FBI.
When did they tell you that?
I can't remember, but it was ahead of the 2020 elections.
Yeah.
And that would have been before that Hunter Biden laptop story broke.
I don't remember. It would have been, it might have happened in October. It could have happened before then. I think it may have happened before then, but I can't remember.
They made that representation to you, both Twitter and Facebook, in these FIDIF Facebook pre-election meetings. Or sorry, let me rephrase that. Did they make that representation to you in the FIDIF organized meetings with Facebook and then Twitter?
I can't remember the specifics, but generally speaking, the companies provided us an overview of what their terms of service was and how hacked materials could be categorized within these terms of service, and then just the types of actions that they would potentially take.
I think you said a minute ago that the kinds of actions they would potentially take included taking the materials down.
Yeah, that was a potential action, but I think it had to reach, they had an internal validation process, and it had to clear internal hurdles before they would take that sort of content down. But I can't remember the specifics of what the internal hurdles were.
And that information was conveyed to a group of FBI officials that included you and Ms. Demlow, as well as Mr. Olson, Mr. Cohn, Ms. Chalk, and Mr. Giannini.
Yeah, I don't know if all of those people were present during any of those meetings where they were discussed, but in general, I would say that at least some subset of them would have been present.
Okay, and then did you guys relay that information to anyone? Hey, here's what Facebook and Twitter will do if they perceive hacked materials on their platforms.
So I did not relay it to anyone else. Outside of my internal discussions with them, I do not know if they relayed it to anyone else.
Do you know if you don't know if it was relayed to anyone else by anyone?
I do not. I'm only privy to what I've discussed with them.
You see, he has a full deposition there, and he says a lot. Big question, did anybody else at the FBI, are you aware of communications between anyone else at Facebook and anyone else related to the Hunter Biden laptop story? Answer, no. Jordan says, completely false. The committee has recently obtained an internal Facebook document proving that Agent Elvis Chan had a secret follow-up call with Facebook about the Hunter Biden laptop story on October 15th, just one day after the New York Post story broke and the first Facebook meeting. Here's the note. This looks like it comes from an internal Facebook post. October 15th. It looks like some internal community forum from some person. Says, I spoke with Supervisory Special Agent Elvis Chan, FBI San Francisco, on October 15, 2020, as a follow-up to the call with the FIDIF task force on October 14th, the day the story broke. I asked Chan whether there was any update or change since the discussion on October 14th as to whether the FBI saw any evidence suggesting foreign sponsorship or direction of the leak. That was published. SS Chan advised that he was up to speed on the current state of the matter within the FBI, and there was no current evidence to suggest any foreign connection or direction of the leak. Chan assured that the FBI would be in contact if any additional information on this was developed through further investigation. No current evidence to suggest any foreign connection or direction of the leak. So he's honest about that. But he did talk to them both on the 14th and the 15th. He assured them, we'll contact you. It's an ongoing investigation. So he was not honest when he said that he did not talk to them. He specifically talked to them about the laptop. They asked him, he responded on the 15th. Those weren't Agent Chan's only inconsistent statements. Agent Chan also claimed in the depo that he had no internal knowledge of the FBI's investigation involving the laptop. And you believe that this occurred after there had been, a New York Post article about the contents of the laptop. I think you referred to it early. You found out about it that way, right? Yeah, I only found out through the news media. I have no internal knowledge of that investigation. And yeah, I believe it was brought up after the news story broke. But the Facebook employee, an ex-FBI agent, because they just hire ex-Intel people now, wrote the day after the story broke, he said that Chan advised that he was up to speed on the current state of the matter with the FBI. He also said there was no current evidence to suggest any foreign connection or direction of the leaks. Of course there was no evidence of any foreign connection, because the laptop was real, and they knew it. They had it since December of 2019. Is there any reason or any wonder why the Biden DOJ has stonewalled the committee's efforts to interview Agent Chan? Our investigation remains ongoing. We're going to continue to update the public and consider legislation to fight this censorship industry and protect our First Amendment rights. Biden is appealing the limitations on their power. That's taking place in the Court of Appeals. But Elvis Chan, evasive, dishonest, forgetting whole conversations. You did talk about the Hunter Biden laptop and many other stories that were problematic in the FBI's eyes, all to protect your narrative, all to stop Trump, and he has been busted.